Hi guys, good evening.
Hi, good evening, sir.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Hi, good evening.
Yeah, because so I think all joined. We can continue now.
Okay, Gaurav. Thank you. So guys, my name is Prakash and today we are going to start the Palo Alto course for PCNSC and thanks for joining and hope everyone is doing good. So what I'm going to do is I'll be sharing my screen and we'll start the session. Okay, so let me share my screen and please let me know once you see it. Okay. So closed. Okay, let me open this as well. Give me 1 minute, guys. Okay. Can you see my screen now?
Yes, it is visible, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So today we are going to understand two things. First of all, we'll understand what is the portfolio of Palo Alto. It helps. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thanks for understanding. So guys, first of all, we'll understand the portfolio of Palo Alto. So what exactly services they offer, what are the devices they are having, what kind of security services they offer to enterprise, to the cloud or on-prem, or maybe to automation. Okay. And then we will be understanding at the last, we will be understanding how we can explore the documentation so that we can understand the things better. So let's say if I cover any kind of topic, for an example, NAT. So how you are going to explore more about NAT, understanding more scenarios about NAT, understanding with the blog, understanding with some kind of scenarios, which the basically in industries engineer they have faced it, they have created a blog in Palo Alto, or the tag engineer they have created blogs. So you can just read through those things. Okay. Okay. So guys, now to understand the Palo Alto, we just understand the portfolio what they are having. Okay. So anyone has heard about Prisma, or anyone has heard about Strata or something like that? Cortex, Prisma, Strata.
Strata, yes, I heard about that.
Okay. So basically, if I give you a high level overview, okay, Strata is nothing but basically securing your data center, internet, branches, or endpoints. So whatever we are going to study in PCNSC, we are going to study about Strata. Okay. We are not going to touch Prisma, or we are not going to touch Cortex, right? So basically what exactly it is there in the Strata, we'll talk about in detail in upcoming sessions. For today, we are going to understand each of them very clearly, what exactly they do. Okay. As we know, the Strata is for firewall, for panorama, and for global protect, URL filtering, application filtering, or data prevention, or something like that. So whatever the firewall offers, you will be seeing in Strata. Okay, this is to secure your data center, your on-prem devices, your parameters, or your mobile network, right? Now, when it comes to cloud, okay, so the Prisma will be coming into the picture. How exactly? It secures your access, SaaS, and public cloud. So if you have something on the cloud, okay, Now to access that particular application, or the developer needs to access that particular application, the Prisma will come into the picture and it provide that particular security to that particular traffic, right? Now, if I talk about Cortex, okay, so Cortex is nothing but what exactly it does. It takes your all the data, okay, and actually it analyzes that particular behavior, and it thinks about whether it can be malicious traffic or it is a genuine traffic, what exactly it is. It tries to understand with the help of Cortex, okay. And also with the help of Cortex, we can do automation, orchestration, automation. Like if I want to deploy something, we will be able to use with the help of Cortex, okay. There are so many ways to do automation, but I'm just giving you what basically Palo Alto offers. Yeah, Rajendra, please go on. Yeah, Rajendra, you raised your hand. Yeah. I guess I'm unable to hear you. What exactly you're saying? Okay. Yeah. Please let me know if you want to ask anything. Okay. So now the basic principle or basic idea of Palo Alto. Okay. Again, Rajendra Giri has raised her hand. So yeah, please tell me, what is your question? Okay. Okay, fine. So basically, the key element of the Palo Alto environment is having a full visibility. Okay. What kind of traffic? So that is the reason we have app ID, we have user ID, so that we can understand what user is using what application, right? So we will be having a visibility. Okay. When we have a visibility of that particular traffic, it reduces the attack surface, because we know that what kind of traffic that is, okay. And it also prevents the known attack. How it prevents the known attack? Because of the app ID signature or IPS signatures which is there inside the Palo Alto. Okay, so we will be having a visibility of that particular traffic that reduces the attack. And also with the help of what you call the IPS signatures, we actually prevent the known attacks, because those signatures has already built in. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, for an example, okay, you went to some market, okay, and you know what to buy in the market. Okay, you can buy those products, right? And you know what it look like, what is the price of that. Maybe for an example, clothes, you know what is the price of the cloth. Or maybe if you are going for a grocery shop, you know what is the price of wheat, how it look like that. So that kind of signature. So basically you know basically what kind of traffic it is, and that particular signature or that particular image will be there in your mind, right? It prevents unknown threats. How it prevents unknown threat? Like in the demo session, I was talking about the wildfire. So if Palo Alto Firewall doesn't understand anything, it sends that particular to wildfire cloud or wildfire application. It actually analyzes, okay, what is happening to that particular data, whether it's genuine data, not genuine data, illegitimate traffic or something like that. Then it gives a verdict to Palo Alto Firewall, and then Palo Alto Firewall will maybe prevent that particular or block that particular data, or allow that particular data. Now, how this wildfire analysis does. So there are few locations for Palo Alto. They have R&D centers, right? So this is my understanding. Okay, this is what I have understood from their analysis. I'm just telling you. Okay, there can be different ways. So the Palo Alto has a research centers, right? So now this research center, what they do is they analyzes these signatures, or they analyzes the data. What kind of data will be legitimate traffic or which will be illegitimate traffic. Accordingly, they actually read the pattern of the data and gives a verdict whether it should be allowed or it should be denied. Okay, so you understand the complete cycle. What is this? Okay, so Vivek, basically this batch is only for the English, like basically we will be having the candidates which is from outside, so they only understand English. That is the reason we are continuing English. So that is the reason we will not be able to like continue in Hindi. Okay, so yeah. So these are the key elements of Palo Alto Firewall. Okay, so if we understand the key element, this is what our understanding is. Okay, now we'll move and we'll try to understand. Okay, now to secure the enterprise, what kind of services they offer in Strata. In Strata, there are so many devices they offer, and we need to understand there are so many services they offer as well. Okay, so to understand, we'll understand there are virtual devices, which is VM series. Maybe you guys can raise hands. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. Okay. So there are VM series, there are CN series, okay, and there are subscription services, there are Panorama, there are Wildfire, there are Global Protect, and Prisma Access. So Prisma Access will come into the picture, but we'll talk about that as well a little bit. Okay. So basically in Strata, we have VM series and we have CN series. CN series is for, I guess, this is we are using in the cloud basically, and this will be useful when you have Kubernetes and all those things. Okay, but VM series, when you are deploying that particular firewall into the cloud, and this will be compatible with all the clouds, whatever you have it, like Google, Azure, and I guess AWS, Alibaba. I guess there are so many cloud service providers are there, and most of the service providers we will be able to deploy Palo Alto VM series. Okay. Okay. Now, once you basically implement this VM series or the CN series or the appliances. Okay. Now we will have something called as subscription services. And this subscription services will enhance the threat services and NGFW capabilities. How exactly it is. Okay. So basically what happens is when you have an appliance or a VM series firewall, what happens is you will get some update once you have a license in this VM, or maybe in appliance. When you enable the license, this subscription model will get enabled and you will start getting updates. So what kind of updates? It can be application signatures update, URL filtering updates, or maybe antivirus signatures update, IPS signatures update. So you will be getting all this updates from this subscription services, right? Once you get this, you will be able to update your signatures basically. Okay. Now, they have a Panorama. what exactly the Panorama is? Panorama is to manage this VM or CN or maybe your appliances, right? It actually uses, with the help of Panorama, we will be able to manage these devices, right? Now something called as wildfire. So I was talking about the wildfire right now because it prevents unknown threats as well, right? So unknown threats is nothing but which is not known by us, which is not, which the pattern we are not sure about it. Okay, something called as zero-day attack, right? So zero-day attack is something which we are not aware, and it happened today or something just now it happened. We are not sure about the pattern. So it also prevent that unknown threats as well. Okay. Now global protect. Global protect is nothing but your mobile users or maybe the remote users or remote offices, if they want to connect to your network. Let's say you have a headquarter in somewhere in US, okay, and you have a remote location in Africa. You can connect with the mobile user or the remote offices with the help of global protect, and you'll be able to access the resources of the company. Okay. Now Prisma access is something called, basically this is for remote users, or sorry, remote sites or the mobile users. When you have something in the cloud, okay, so with the help of Prisma, you will be able to connect to Prisma and then you will be accessing the cloud. So it provides security to your traffic, right? So any questions, guys, till now? I guess I have something. Okay.
This Panorama, wildfire, all these are hardware or only software?
So basically, these are the software services inside the Palo Alto Firewall. With no matter it's a VM series or it is a appliance, we will get some kind of software licenses that comes into that particular. It's a basically blade. In terms, if I say, we will be activating that particular global protect or wildfire, something like that. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So, excuse me, sorry. When you mention VM series and then the appliance series, what do you mean by that? I mean, like, can we apply this firewall in the VM?
Yes, we will be able to. The VM series are the virtual series, virtual machine series. So we'll be able to implement in your VMware or in the cloud itself.
How are we going to do that? I mean, do we need to install some kind of application into it?
No, you will be getting that kind of image, and I guess it is available in support center. You can download that particular image and you can run it in VM, like the VMware.
All right. Will the VM will need to be in any operating system? Oh, this Palo Alto itself is an kind of OS, like a Windows, a Mac, or Linux.
Yeah, it is already, it is an OS. It comes with an OS. So you don't need to run it on some OS. It is already there.
This VM itself, this Palo Alto itself is an OS, yeah?
Yes.
All
so
right.
it's called as Pan OS.
All right. Okay.
It is built on Linux, but yeah, they have customized that particular VM and they have named it as Pan OS.
All right.
Yeah.
May I ask a question, sir?
Yeah, please go on.
Sir, these applications with each other are connected in these applications, Palo Alto and Panorama and service wildfire.
Yeah, so basically I'll tell you. So Panorama is a different device itself. So Panorama is something called, it's an appliance or it can be a VM series as well. Okay, VM device. It's a different, altogether different model. But subscription model, we will be able to implement in the firewall as well as Panorama and wildfire and global protect. It will be there in the as a software blades.
As a software, well, not connected with each other in these software.
Basically, they are in the software blades. Just you need to enable it. Is already there in that particular OS. Okay.
Okay, sir. And not combined for our memory and other things.
Yeah, it is already combined. So basically, what I'm trying to say is, so you have a Windows server. Okay.
Okay, sir. Okay.
That Windows servers, you will be having something called as WordPad. You will be having MS Paint. Something,
Yeah, sir. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So these subscription model, or when you are upgrading, like maybe update your Windows. So these are the services that you will be getting. It is inside that particular OS itself.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay. This
It
one.
means
Basically,
like a software,
these are
like a software.
license-based applications which we can avail in case we
Yes.
get those licenses.
Absolutely. Absolutely correct. And Panorama is altogether a different device itself. With the Panorama, when you connect different firewalls, you will be able to manage it. Let's say if I want to implement some policy from this Panorama, so I can, at the same time, I can implement this policy to all the firewalls which are available. So we will be able to manage the firewalls with the help of Panorama.
One question, sir.
Yeah, go on.
Let's suppose if I'm going to implement Palo Alto firewall in my environment. So do I need specifically Panorama to be purchased for managing my devices, or I can manage it locally?
You can manage it locally. If you have more devices, like more than, it depends on what's your future requirement of firewall. But as of now, you said is one firewall, you can manage it from standalone. You don't need to buy a Panorama. But you think that in future it goes more than 10 or 15 or something, in that case you have to get a Panorama. It is easier to manage it.
Okay, sir.
So I'm sorry. Basically, this Panorama is a kind of a software that controls multiple of firewalls there in your organizations. Yeah. Is it going to be part of the GUI, or it's going to be like kind of a CLI?
It's a GUI itself, and we'll be able to manage it from GUI itself. And we will be having some troubleshooting that is there for Panorama, but we'll be basically using the GUI itself.
The GUI, yeah, for the configurations and troubleshootings.
Yes, yeah, correct, yeah.
All right.
Okay. So I was talking about the hardware series, the PA hardware series, the VMware, the VM series is, and the cloud accesses. And this cloud access is nothing but a Prisma access. This service is offered by Palo Alto. Once you get that particular, basically it's not visible for you guys. It'll be on the cloud itself, and it will be controlled by Palo Alto. Okay. So we'll talk about Prisma in some other, but right now, if we go in depth, like in this course, it is not. So yeah. So these are the models that is available right now. If you understand, these are the smaller branches, remote locations. Okay. Then it goes to parameters, then large data centers. So if you think about these series, like it has a lot of ports there. Yeah. Now virtual systems. The virtual system, a concept called as, basically I am dividing basically appliance into two virtual systems. So V1 and V2. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, I can basically, with the help of V systems, so virtual systems, I can divide the Palo Alto into two different firewalls. What we do in Cisco ASA, if you guys know about contexts. So basically dividing up hardware into two virtual ASA, or same way dividing a hardware into two virtual system, or more than that. Okay. this can only be done in hardware. It cannot be done in virtual or VM devices. Okay. So no matter if you are on cloud, you will not be having, basically you'll not be able to get access, or you'll not be able to do VSS, that is virtual system. Okay. And in this you can create more than, I guess, 8, I guess. I need to read that particular this thing. Depends on the model, what model that you are buying it, and you can create that kind of VCs for that. So maybe you can create a VCs and says that this is for my partner, this is my inside database network, or this can be a server zone, this can be something like that, or you can divide that accordingly. So the traffic from this VCs, it will not go from one VCs to another VCs. We will be having the provision to do that, but okay. Yes, I guess we have got one question here. Okay, my voice is not audible, is it? Or is it? Is it?
No, it's all right. I can hear you well.
It's audible.
Okay. So in the VM series, we have like a lot of modules and capabilities of that particular VM series. Okay, starting from we have like VM 700, 500, 300 VM, and this is the lighter series. So when you do a practice in 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐠𝐬, like we have a lab, we'll be using this VM 50. Okay, I guess so. This is the one that we are using because it requires so much RAM and there is no use, right? It's not a production environment so that we will be using this much of memories or hard disk or this kind of sessions, right? So we'll be using this one, I guess, I believe so. Or there is a VM which will be coming by default. We'll be using that. Okay, so that is only for the practice one, or in the lab we will be able to understand with those things. Okay, and it depends on if you are deploying in Azure or AWS or Google Cloud or any other cloud app service provider. You have to understand what is the requirement of that particular firewall, and accordingly you can deploy that kind of, and you have to buy that particular. There are two options that is available. Either you can get the license from, particularly from Palo Alto, that I want VM series 400, 500, 700 series license, and you can deploy that particular license to that Palo Alto virtual, that VM firewall in the cloud. Or maybe once you get order from Azure, from the marketplace, they'll provide you the license as well. So it depends on what you want to do. Okay.
So one question.
Yeah.
You said we'll be working with VM 50 Lite. So all these labs will be shared one, or it will be dedicatedly given to all the members?
I guess Gaurav, can you just...
Sorry, what is the question? Sorry, I didn't listen.
Basically, sir said like everybody will be working in the lab, which is like VM 50. I was just asking whether we'll get separate VM.
Yeah, so basically, I'll tell you, we have deployed this VM on our server. So you're getting access to that, and that's an individual access. That doesn't mean that whatever the configuration you're doing, it's similar for the other. No, it's an individual configuration.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. So we'll come to that policy, like how the session setups will be, or how the policy will be, like the processing will be, the flow will be. Let me tell you about some of the things related to the firewall components, what exactly the firewall components will be. Okay, so once we understand about the Strata, so what we have understand in the Strata, okay, what are the components that we have understand, and then what kind of devices they are having. Okay, now we'll be talking about briefly about the components of the firewall. Inside the firewall, what are the things are there. Okay, now the first thing that you come to know about is the security zone. Okay, the security zone the firewall has, okay, and a security policy. Okay, there are so many things, but these are the components of the firewall. Okay, now why there is a concept of zone instead of like a interface or interface based policy. Okay, now when you define a zone based policy, okay, do you guys, I have a question for you guys. Can you answer me? Tell me what is the difference between a global policy, interface policy, and zone based policy? What is the difference? Anyone can tell me.
Global policy will be applied for entire, what do you call, organization.
So basically, I have, let's say,
Okay, bro.
interfaces. Okay, or 4 interfaces. This is a firewall. So if I apply global policy, on which interfaces this will be applied?
It will be applied to all the interfaces.
All the interfaces, inbound, outbound.
Yeah, all the interfaces.
Inbound or outbound?
Outbound.
Inbound, I think.
Okay. Yeah, go on. And after that, the interface based?
Particular interface, we can apply only particular interface.
Particular interface. So we have to define the source and destination both, or only one is it's fine.
Source and destination.
Source and destination.
Yeah, of course, both.
And it will be inbound or outbound?
Basically, if it is a stateless session, it will be both for outbound only.
I'm just talking about the stateful.
That means outbound.
Outbound. What about zone?
Zone based manner. Let's suppose if we are splitting your network like DMZ, inside, outside kind of thing. I'm just talking about in sense of Cisco ASA.
Okay.
Not sure about Palo Alto.
So basically, when you are defining a global, as you said correctly, it will be applied to all the interfaces, and it will be always be outbound. So going from, so what I'm trying to say is, from this firewall, what is going is called as outbound, right? What is coming is called as inbound. Okay, whenever you apply this, it will not only, it will implement the outbound, it will also implement the inbound. Okay, so whenever you implement any policy to the global policy, you have to think about the source. Always the source you just think about. Okay, so it will always be applied to inbound and outbound, and checkpoint is an example for global policy. When we talk about interfaces, okay, now interfaces, in the interface we have to define whether it can be outbound or it can be inbound, right? And in zone, basically we are defining the source zone and the destination zone. Okay, so it will be always be outbound basically, or inbound. So it depends on what. So basically, let's say I have together, we have two interfaces which is known as inside. Okay, and two interfaces will be having outside, right? So the traffic enters from inside to outside, it will be outbound, right? And traffic which is coming from outside to inside, it is inbound, right? So what I'm trying to say is, it depends on the what kind of what is the direction of the traffic. It depends on what whether it's an inbound or whether it's an outbound. Okay, now basically why we have implement a zone instead of interface. Interface is also fine, right? Why we have implement a zone? Okay, for an example, I'll give you an example. Okay, now I have a zone called as inside, and I have a zone called as marketing. I have a zone called as DMZ. I have a zone called as internet. Okay. Now I want to give a very basic access to all these interfaces to something called as database zone, because this database zone or the server zone, which is company owned servers, are very sensitive. Okay, I want to give inside user, and because they want to retrieve some information, maybe they want to have a AD access, or they want to have a DNS access or something like that. Okay, so I can combine that and say, okay, that I want to give access to this zone, or maybe I want to give access to DNS or AD server. So I can combine this zone, because there inside I can give a zone, give access to AD or DNS. Because as right now we have like large network, we have large users base. Before it was not there, so there is a requirement of to do that particularly. That is the reason zones will come into the picture, or zone will come into the scenario, that I want to give same access to all. Instead of giving one access to all the interfaces, I'll be grouping as a zone, and I'll be providing the access to
internal
servers or internet, whatever it is. Okay. As the same time, we will be having properly, that policy will be inspected and it will be allowed accordingly. Okay. Now security policy. Okay. As you guys know about security policy very well, what kind of security policy and why we define basically security policy. So before that, I have one chat, don't know. Okay. Okay. So we'll talk about security policy. Okay. So there is a list. Okay. We will be defining some source destination, and we will be giving access to it. Okay. So it can be allowed, or it can be denied, or it can be, maybe there are some other options are there. Okay, we will be defining that policy. Okay, there is a list. Okay, now whenever you define a policy, there are so many options that is available. Okay, now in that option, we will having something called as app ID. We will be having something called as user ID. There are port number. So right now, the Palo Alto Firewall security policy is so much mature right now. It can understand so many things, and accordingly, it creates that particular list. Okay. For an example, if some marketing guys, they want to access some application which is not allowed, maybe torrent or maybe Tor or something else, this application should not be allowed for that particular marketing group. It will not be allowed at the level of layer 7. So we are just not creating based on IP addresses. We are creating based on application, user ID, port number, source IP, and there are so many. Okay. So these kind of understanding the Palo Alto is having. Okay. So you will be seeing this. Okay. Now in security policy, you will be seeing the profiles, antivirus. Okay. In single policy, we will be able to define these informations, right? Vulnerability protection, anti-spyware, URL filtering, file blocking, data filtering, and wildfire analysis in a single. So what we are defining, sorry, where is that? Okay. We're defining source, we are defining destination, we are defining application, we are defining URL, and we are defining these profiles. So there is no escape, right? The user can't escape with this information. If these informations are right, then it goes process with this information. And after that, the logs will be triggered that, yeah, this user has been allowed for this, or this user has been denied for this. So now for troubleshooting purpose also, you try and you understand, okay, which profile is blocking that particular connection. Okay. Now basically what happens is, let's say something is getting blocked in application. It shows that it is blocked due to this, or you need to understand the log. I'll tell you how you are going to understand the log. So you will understand, okay, this is been logged because of so and so reason, and you will start investigating that issue. Okay. The more the profile you are going to put, the more complex the troubleshooting and understanding will be. Okay. So you have to understand which profile needs to be applied, which profile do not needs to be applied, or maybe something like that. Okay. So it's purely depend on the company policy, what they are having. Okay.
So I'm just wondering here,
Mhm.
do we need to apply each and every profile in that setting, or only just we can, let's say, the antivirus, and we can strip the other one and we just go straight to the wildfire analysis there?
So it depends. These are the options that you are available. It's not mandatory that you have to do it. You can give in source, you can give some IP address, destination IP address, and action is allowed. That's all you can give. Application any, service any, and you don't need to select this as well. That's all. And you can create a policy. So a simple policy can be created and a complex policy can be created. It depends on the option, and you have a flexibility. You can do this, you can do, you should not do this or something.
All right.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir. By the name itself, user ID, I understand that it is related to the user's ID. But what is app ID? I mean, what it describes.
Okay, so basically, user ID, it understands the information about the user. That what is the IP address, what is the name of the user or something. In app ID, okay, in app ID, what happens is application runs on what port? What is the dependency of port? Let me open the details of that particular app ID. Give me a minute. I guess we get, okay, app ID Palo Alto. I guess, yeah, I guess this will help you understand. Okay. I guess. Okay. So it gives a little details about it. Okay. So basically it's a signature. Okay. Signatures means what kind of traffic that gets negotiated from user to the server, and accordingly it finds that, okay, this is an application in Facebook, or this is an application of YouTube or something like that. So it depends on so many things. Basically it depends on the flow, what name server that the user is going. So let me explain in this way. Okay, not this one, I guess. Yeah. So for an example, we understand as a YouTube. Okay, the user wants to go to YouTube. Okay, now YouTube runs on 443 and 80 as well. It's a Google services, and youtube.com the user will be going. Okay, and it has a certificate of youtube.com. it is a video streaming from the it's a video streaming software, oh sorry, the website. So if these informations are matched, these user ID will get triggered, sorry, app ID will get triggered. Okay, because it goes through, first the negotiation will be happening, the SSL connections will be, or the port number sync SYNAC will be happening. So Palo Alto will understand this is a HTTP connection. Okay, and then he recognizes, okay, it is going to youtube.com, then YouTube website, so it's a YouTube. Okay, now it understands about the inner layer of that, whether you are doing any comment in the YouTube, or so it understands with the link. So what I'm trying to say is, if you open this, okay, so it analyzes all your information. So this, go to view page, so it basically analyzes your links. These links, you understand it, right? So it understands all the link, and it understands whether it's a comment, whether it's a post. That is a signature it has about that particular, that is a pattern the user will be communicating with the YouTube, and it understands the inner layer, that yeah, this is a comment, or this is a you are putting a like, you are subscribing it, or something like that. Okay, so with the help of that, that is called an app ID, because it understands that particular application clearly. Maybe it gives you some clarity.
Somewhat, sir.
Okay, maybe once we go to the app ID, I can explain you in a very detailed manner. We will be having a slide, so I can explain you in a better way.
Is it like this? Like, let's suppose if you're opening Facebook, so you want that particular user doesn't want to get into chat section, or you want to restrict chat, something like that, or
yeah,
what? Something.
it is like that. Yeah, you can restrict him accessing the chat. You can restrict him accessing some do a post or something, games. So you can do that. Yeah.
Oh, in a way that you will be still be able to access the facebook.com. You can see your profile. You can do some search there, but you won't be able to access some services that's provided by the Facebook, for example, that chats and all the game stuff.
Yes, you're absolutely correct. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so now we'll understand the traffic processing sequence, how exactly it is processed, and the best, I can tell you, the best place to take a look at the details of processing of the sequence. You can go here. Okay, I always recommend you to go Palo Alto packet processing, I guess, packet flow. Maybe I guess I will put in the chat. You guys can copy over there. So you can click on this, click here to hide this. Okay. So we'll be understanding this. This is most important, and you guys need to understand this. Okay. Now, first, before we go into the details, we'll understand. Tell me what is fast path and slow path, if you guys know about it. I guess by looking at the steps, you guys can at least recognize what is happening, but I'm just asking you if you have any idea about that. Okay, you guys no idea about the slow path and fast path?
No.
Okay, got it. No worries. Okay, so whenever a traffic received by Palo Alto, first of all, it checks the information about what? layer 2, layer 3, and layer 4 information. Okay. So egress traffic will be zone lookup, whether that particular traffic is coming to the correct zone, whether I am routable to that particular. So what I'm trying to say is, if this is a Palo Alto firewall and my source address is 192.168.1.1. So whether that IP address is reachable through this IP address or not, and the destination, let's say it is going to maybe 8.8.8.8, whether which zone and what information it basically it generate, like extract all the information about the source and destination details. Okay. Now there is any process error in egress side, whether do we have any kind of egress processing issues, because if it is a malformed packet or something, it basically discards that particular packet. Okay. Now it comes to the firewall inspection capabilities. Okay, whether we have to do any kind of whether that particular policy has some kind of inspection capabilities, like whether we have to do URL filtering, application control, or those profile which I showed you just now. So whether it has a capabilities, like whether we have to go with this or no. Okay, yes. Then whether it's an IPsec or SSL connection, yes or no, then it decides, okay, then it goes for a decryption. Okay. Otherwise, if it is not, then it goes to session, the firewall session lookup. Okay. Now, whenever a first traffic comes to Palo Alto firewall, okay, there will be a session lookup or session creation. Session lookup is if you have any existing connection for that particular source and destination, whether there is an ongoing communication that is happening. If it is not, it's a new connection, so it goes for a creation. Okay. Now, if it is, okay, if it doesn't found, it goes for a slow path. Now in slow path, what happens is it creates that particular session. So creating a session meaning I'll be taking all the information about source, destination, and I'll be putting in a memory so that I can allow the return traffic, how the stateful basically works. And I need to look for the routing table. I need to look for so many things, NAT table and all those things. So I need to actually look at so many things in this. Okay. So I will just come down a little bit. Okay. So first of all, forwarding. So where I'm going to go, what is my egress interface zone or L3 route? I am going to look at the basically routes. Okay. So this is a new session that is getting created. So I'll be looking at the forwarding lookup. Okay. Then we'll be looking at the NAT. NAT, what NAT? Destination NAT. If you are not sure about destination NAT, that's fine. If you're sure about destination NAT, that is also fine. I'll talk about in very detailed manner. Okay. So not now, but yeah, once we go to the NAT section. Okay. So NAT lookup will be happening. Okay. So basically NAT happens. What will be happening is destination NAT is only for the server when you are hosting a server inside your organization. In that case, your public IP, like if I am the user and I'm accessing google.com, so google.com will be having a public IP address. And when it goes to google.com, it goes inside that particular company, and then it does a DNAT and it goes to a private IP address, something like that. Okay. So DNAT will be happening first, and then it matches the rule, and then it forwards further. Okay. Then it goes for a security policy lookup. Okay. Then it goes to understand the source IP address, destination IP address, app filtering and all those things. And And then if the rule matches, if doesn't matter, it is discarded. It's if it is matches, it's create and install the session. So it takes all the information, the port number, and it records in his memory. Okay. After that, it goes for a firewall processing. Okay. Now basically where the NAT will be applicable, when the source NAT will be happening. Do you guys have any questions till now, or no? Or it is going over the head, or you're not able to understand anything? Or you're good?
This
Yeah.
session, this session thing, it seems like to me, if you first boot up the switch and then they start exchanging the MAC address and all and the information of the source and the ports. Is it something like that?
No. It is not that session. Session is something called as, it basically creates your information. So basically what happens is, whatever the source and destination and the port number that you are having, it basically records that particular information, so that whenever a next packet comes to you, it basically sees your session and not go for this policy lookup and NAT policy and all those things. It basically goes directly to this and then start processing it.
All right. Somehow it gives, like, it takes cache of it, right?
Yes, basically it cache. That is the reason it is called as slow path. Always the first traffic will be always be slow path, because it goes through this process
To create a session, to store the session in the firewall.
Yes. So once it is already done, then it goes for this flow and it avoids this. And actually what is this? It will be faster in that case. Okay.
You mean to say like it is caching kind of thing?
This information, yeah, it is caching this information. What is the NAT? What is the destination zone? What is the policy? Whether we are allowing the policy or not. So it created that. It creates that particular session after allowing it. After the rule allows that, it creates the session and it gives the information. Okay, NAT is happening with this. The security policy, which is allowing the security policy number 1, it is allowing it. No, NAT rule number 1, it is allowing it. So it gets all the information and then install this information in the memory. Okay.
So one more question, sir, regarding this. Let's suppose there are 100 odd people who is accessing, let's suppose google.com or Google Drive. So if the first, you said like the first traffic will always be a slow path. Let's suppose the first traffic comes and it hits the slow path and the caching entry has been done. If the second user will again access Google or Google Drive, will it cache or it will it do again a slow path?
So it depends. Okay, so for an example, I'm accessing google.com. I understood your question. So google.com, it's a new session, right? I can see that. Okay, and let's say for an example, I'll give you, give me a minute. Okay, google.com. Okay, I'm going to another tab and I'm putting google.com. So I'm creating new sessions, right? In this I can search something. Okay, in this I'm going to search something, right? So what happens? There is a this is a new session and this is also, but the source and destination remains the same, but I am having a different sessions. So for that, I am generating a new source port number. Always be the source port number will be different, right? For different sessions, right? So if you take a look at maybe what I can tell you.
Netstat we can see.
Yeah, Netstat. See this.
-N.
Oh, sorry. So see, There are a few, if you try to see this, I guess 52. So if you see and understand this, the port number, the source port number always be different, right?
Got it. The same destination, it will be slow path. If any new session will be there, it will be again like.
Correct, correct. It will be always be slow path, okay? Now, it goes for a session, okay. Now, basically after creating the session, it goes for a NAT, okay? Again, NAT, whether that is a source NAT. And after that, the SSL decryption will be happening. If you have defined the SSL decryption, it will define that particular SSL decryption, right? After that, if that particular content is in, we are going to inspect that particular content. If it is no, it actually goes directly, basically it goes to this, the packet forwarding. Otherwise, if it is yes, in that case, it goes for a content checking. Content checking is something called as application checking. So app ID will come into the picture. Okay, app ID, not app ID. Basically, it is the what you call it. Basically, content is an antivirus, the URL filtering, or there are so many things are there like in that. The profile which I showed. So content filtering, like I'm checking all the information about the traffic. Okay, so matching the IP signature and all those things. Okay.
Sir, sorry to interrupt.
After checking that, okay, it actually does what? Yeah. Yeah, go on.
Shall I put on my question?
Yeah, please go on.
Sir, can you just elaborate about SSL decryption a bit?
Yeah, definitely. I'll talk about that. So SSL decryption is nothing but I'll just give you a short description. So we'll cover that in a different session. So I'll just give you a little bit highlight. So HTTP or SSL decryption is nothing but when you have a SSL communication from user to the server. Okay, so this is a user and this is a server. Now they will do an SSL handshake. Okay, so once you do this SSL handshake, what happens is they create basically a tunnel, and whatever the traffic will be there inside that particular tunnel and goes to server. Now we what the server and the user and the server is talking, we are not sure about it because we are not seeing in that, we are not going into the tunnel and we are not seeing it because it is the encrypted one. So with the help of SSL decryption, what we does is the firewall will basically decrypt the information and create, there is a two sessions will be there. One is with the user and one with the server. Okay. Now what happens is once you have this two sessions and it decrypts the information, it basically whenever the user is sending the information to the firewall, it decrypts all the information and again encrypts it and sends it to the server. So once it decrypts that particular information, it checks what is there, what the user is talking to the server, or whenever the server is sending, it decrypts the information and says that what server is sending. So in that case, I have an eye on that particular transaction from user to the server, and I'm basically filtering all the information. If it is not required, I'll be blocking it, or if it is okay, I'm going to allow it according to the policy what we have defined. Okay, so when you do URL filtering, for an example, I want to block facebook.com. Okay, and Facebook works on HTTPS. Okay, Now, if I have a SSL decryption is there, I'll be able to see the user is going to facebook.com. In that case, I'll be blocking it. If SSL decryption is not configured, I'll not be able to see it, and I am going to basically allow it. So this is how it happens.
Sir, this SSL decryption, is this a like feature of firewall or a technique?
Basically, you can there are two things, because it requires a lot of processing power. It's a firewall mechanism, I can say, and also a service, because it has some kind of way to do that. So once we enable that particular feature, then only we'll be able to do it, or like we'll be able to do SSL decryption.
Okay,
And
we have to enable that feature, then only it will do the SSL decryption.
Yes, and for that we have some kind of eligibility in sense, some criteria to fill in. We have to get certificates and all those things.
Oh, that user certificate and all of these things.
Yeah. So yeah, content inspections will be there, and after that it goes for application identification. So pattern match and all those things, security lookup, and then whether the rules are matching with that or not. And then the content inspection, again, QoS policy will be looked up, and all those things will be there. Okay. Then it goes to a packet forwarding process. Now, which zone to be forward, and then whether we have applied any QoS policy or fragmentation policy or not. If it is a SSL tunnel or encryption, it goes for encryption, and then it transmits the packet. So basically, if you try to understand this, it checks all your information first, whether it's a new traffic or a old already established traffic. If it is there, then it goes for content filtering, then application filtering, and the forwarding, and do a encryption, and then transmit the particular traffic. Okay. This is what it is. I guess this is the processing of that particular Palo Alto firewall that we are having. Okay. Now, I guess we'll talk about something called as, do you have any question till now, like regarding that packet processing?
Yeah, could you please explain that SP3?
SP3. So basically SP3, I'll tell you, maybe I will give you an example. Okay. Palo Alto SP3. See, this is a very secret things, but what they have showed, I can explain you about that. Okay. So what happens is, the way SP3 works in the nature is like at the same time. Why it does, we'll understand in the control and data plane, but we'll try to understand this. Okay. So in a single way, at the same time, the processing of these three things: app ID, content ID, user ID, it processes at the same time, and the policy engine, you are seeing that, right? So at the same time, the user or the traffic, sorry, not the user, the traffic will be processing at the same time, because they have different, the policy engine or the app ID or the content ID has a separate kind of a CPU, which is there for this. Okay. So that is the reason it processes at the same time. And if I compare with the other firewalls, what happens is it goes through a process. So first it will go to user ID, then app ID, then content ID, then policy, and all those things. Okay. But in case of Palo Alto, it does at the same time. That is the reason it is called as single pass parallel processing. So Sense? Yeah.
Sorry, sir. So everything of this, they are like being processed simultaneously, yeah?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
All right. But for the other firewall, they have to go from one layer to the other, one SAP ID done, and then we'll go forward to user ID, then content ID.
Yes. You're absolutely correct. Yeah. So this is how basically it goes through, and at the same time it process for a single traffic, it processes at the same time. That is the reason it is called as parallel processing. Okay.
And because of this kind of features that Palo Alto is having, so hence why it is called the fast path, yeah, not the slow path.
It is not a slow path and fast path already there in all the firewalls, and it also happens with router switches as well, because as you know about switches and the router, there does ARP, first traffic will be dropped. So the same way it happens at firewall as well. So the first traffic, the session setup will be happening. That is the reason it is slow path and that is a fast path. Okay. Now, to understand basically this single pass parallel processing is like it actually enhances your performance of particular Palo Alto firewall. So at the same time, if your user ID, content ID, and policy engine has it's been checked, your processing power will be increased, or it will be enhanced. In case of other firewalls, it will be processing step by step. It takes more time, right? Because if you see this, it has SSD, RAM, and all. I'll talk about data plane as well. How exactly it does for this thing as well, because it's a secret, right? What exactly basically how the Palo Alto traffic actually deals with single pass parallel processing, but what they have told that it is happening at the same time. How it will not be any latency into processing of these three things. Okay.
Basically, it is increasing the efficiency of the packet forwarding.
Absolutely correct. Yeah. Now, secure in the cloud. Okay, we have understand the Strata, we have understand these things, and we have understand what are the firewalls that is offered by Palo Alto, what is the processing of that, and we'll talk about this the Prisma a little bit. Okay, and then we'll go for Cortex and we'll finish the session. Okay. So yeah, securing the cloud. I was talking about this thing at the start that, yeah, to secure the cloud, we will be having Prisma Cloud, Prisma Access, and Prisma SaaS. So basically with the help of Prisma, if you have some kind of application on the cloud, okay, you will be able to help, like you will be secure with the help of Prisma Cloud. Now to Prisma Access, if you have something on the cloud and you want to access from your on-prem, or maybe you are there, like maybe global product, you are connected. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, let's say you have a PC. Okay, it is provided by organization and you have installed GP, that is global product. You can connect to Prisma Access, and then from there you can access the cloud application, or maybe your what you called as your company resources or something. So in that case, you will be able to access from this, and this is to basically protect your cloud application. And this is also way to provide some kind of data protection. When you provide a data protection, because there are so many things about the cloud, about the data leak or something, with the help of Prisma SaaS, you will be able to protect your data. maybe you can provide some kind of protection or compliance safety to that particular application or something. So you can do that as well with the help of Prisma SaaS. Okay. Okay.
So what is Prisma actually? Is it a software?
No, it's not software. It is there. It's a cloud services, like how AWS and Azure services will be there, right? So it is there same way the Palo Alto is offering it. They have built their own DCs, and you can take the services from them, and you can set up your own environment, something like that.
So, sir, to implement this Prisma SaaS, what a customer will be needed? Like, do they need any kind of like appliances, or just like pay-as-you-go kind of services are they offering?
So to answer your question, I'll just give you a highlight of that. So you will be having a remote office, something like this. A remote office, or maybe a PC, a remote user, and the Palo Alto has this cloud, and where the Prisma will be there. You will be connecting to this Prisma, and then you will be having your Azure cloud. You will be accessing from this. So the traffic will go through this Prisma and then goes to cloud Azure, and Prisma will secure your traffic. And this informations will be the VPN connectivity, something like this. So this
But
is,
sir, as a customer, why would I purchase Prisma when I can directly connect to Azure over the VPN?
but as you are on the cloud, okay, it provides access to the user. Basically, for an example, in Azure, there are so many applications that is built by developers, or there are so many things, okay, database are there, or maybe they are developing some application or something like that, okay. So it recognizes the user information, and accordingly you can give access, okay. So basically you don't need to implement anything on that particular site. Everything will be done by, so whatever an firewall does, the Prisma can do that same thing, but just you need a internet or connectivity from your remote office to this Prisma, and then you'll be able to. So you don't need any in-house firewalls as well.
Okay. Yeah. Here, instead of firewalls, we are using Prisma, right, sir?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can it be like this way? Let's suppose I have a remote office, and I want some of my clients to connect to my office via Prisma. That can also be done.
Yes. Yeah. So they will. Okay. It depends on the configuration what you do in Prisma. It can happen, but you are saying that this is the user. They need to connect to Prisma, and they want to access your remote office, is it, or how it is?
No. Let's suppose I have an organization, XYZ organization. I have my own company, and I want my clients, which are not part of my company, they want. I want them to access my resources, whether it's a application or a kind of server. Can it be done via Prisma?
It depends on the configuration, because there are so many visibility which has to be there. Like what kind of, like it can be done, but you have to configure the way the Prisma has to be, because as this service is offered by Palo Alto, we have to check a lot of things from them before we are thinking about any of the scenarios.
Okay.
Okay.
And so what is SASE? Like I am seeing like a lot of statement around like SASE. I've seen Juniper SASE, and like I heard these kind of words.
Yeah, SASE is nothing but a security providing to your data. So in a case wherein if you want to provide some kind of protection to your data, because there can be a leak that happened from your one cloud to another cloud or something like that. Like basically providing protection to your data, what you are building, an application or developer or sensitive data which you are storing into the cloud, because there are so many talks that was happening and in the cloud, the data are not safe because you are putting the data on the cloud. We are not sure what is happening. So the SaaS will provide protection to that particular data. Okay. Okay. Now, so these are the product of Cortex, and Cortex Lake has basically, you can store, it's a cloud-based log storage. You can basically, you have to buy the services from Palo Alto. You can store as much the logs you want over there, and with the help of these things, you can basically, if you buy that particular services, it actually gives you analysis of your data inside of your organization, that this kind of data is happening and these are the patterns. This can be a threat, this cannot be a threat, or something like that. Okay. And also with the help of Cortex, you can do some kind of automation. Like if you want to configure something, or maybe if you want to upgrade something, if you want to do some kind of automation or something, you can do it with the help of Cortex. XOR, I guess. XOR. Okay.
So, sir, this is purely about logs and other services, or like any other?
Basically, it's a way of cyber security kind of thing, because it analyzes your data and all those things, because it gives you a prediction. It gives you what threat it can be, or what kind of data that is going on in your environment or something like that.
So is this bundled with the product, or we again have to like access it with licensing and that kind of thing?
So it is not bundled with the product. You have to buy it. They are having the services. Few of the services will be there, and few of the services you have to buy it from Palo Alto. Then only.
Let's say, sir, as a customer perspective, if I buy a Palo Alto XYZ series firewall, so what are the default services which comes like embedded with that like appliance?
When you buy any kind of Palo Alto licenses, or by default, so you will be getting all the profiles like application, URL filtering, APIs control, and all those things. And you sort of, I guess, in that basically, if I'll tell you, you will not get that much related to this, because you will not be having this one. I guess you'll be getting related to Strata. You will not be getting related to Prisma or something. You will have access to that, but you have to buy those services again, like, because you are paying the services for Strata. So what I believe, you'll not get this two things. You have to pay extra for that.
Strata is what, sir? Is it some default comes with the firewall?
Strata is a way to say to the firewall's panorama. Because
PAN-OS.
Yeah, PAN-OS basically.
So whatever the service comes under PAN-OS by default, we will get it as well, yeah?
Yes, yeah. When you get the license, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, it all works with the license, right? Even though you have the PAN-OS, but you don't have the license, then it won't work.
Basically, it will work. Most of the services will be working. Few of the services will not work in absence of licenses.
All right.
Okay. I guess we are good now for today's session. Tomorrow we will see layer 2, like the initial setup, and then we'll see what kind of interfaces that we are having in Palo Alto. Those things we will be covering in.